If I go into a store in Australia, I talk, oh, hi, how are you? Hey, mate, how you going? You know, that sort of stuff. Whereas here, you say all that, it's just they look at you like you just, you know, what planet are you from?
Meet Mark Greedy. 37 years ago, he moved from Australia to Singapore to work in the luxury hospitality sector. During our chat, Mark shared why he would never opt for Singaporean citizenship, what you shouldn't do when dealing with wealthy individuals, and his biggest realization upon turning 70. I'm Max, an entrepreneur and YouTuber based in Singapore. Let's go.
How was Singapore in the 80s? I guess it's a big change compared to now.
Yeah, it was. And I heard one of your other interviews, and someone said there were no restaurants. And in fact, there were no restaurants outside hotels. You know, to come from a community like Australia or Sydney, which lives and survives on their restaurants and that sort of thing, there was none. It was all within hotels. I mean, you could call a restaurant a hawker centre, but reality is there was nothing. And there weren't really even what you'd call bars. Then during the 86, 7, that sort of started to happen. So people opened bars. The first bar was Palm. It was called Palm Bar in Holland Village. We used to go there and think we were being cool, you know, a wine bar. And then the first restaurants were outside hotels were in Peranakan Place. And there was one there started and then a couple of bars. And so that was one of the big changes that came about at that time. But it was a relatively small town in a sense, you know, in that era. I mean, one of the challenges for us with Singapore Airlines in the 70s, 80s, and probably even to the 90s, was to get journalists to write favourable stories, you know, because the first 3 words of their stories were green, clean, sterile. And that was like, why would we do that? Boring. And then, of course, later on came the restaurants and the lifestyle and then the bars along Burt Quay. That brought a whole new life. And then, you know, then kept stepping along and you got Marina Bay Sands and all that now. So that was the major change. Lifestyle was always pretty good. I mean, the weather's always been comfortable, kinda, for most people. The only thing that's missing here is a surf. If they beached instead of surf, that you could actually walk along and ride, and I don't know what more you would want.
I think there is 1 month, I think in like October or something, in East Coast, you can surf. Like one of my friends, they do. It's like tiny waves, but like at least a bit of something.
Yeah.
But it's not like real surf, especially coming from Australia.
No.
Like you can always fly to Bali, right?
Well, that's it. You know, so those things are all accessible. And Singapore, culturally and community and business and all that, is a central hub of Asia, really, and a very comfortable central hub. So we can reach, and as you know, we can reach Bali in 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Maldives 3.5 hours. Beautiful. The centres of world tourism, really, are all just in around here, and they're just in our backyard. And that's one of the beauties of being here.
Can you compare, let's say, lifestyle in Singapore versus Sydney, let's say, or Melbourne?
You say Sydney. The distance is lengthy. Generally, you're going to live and you're going to work in the city probably, or that sort of it. But where you live is where you evolve and where you have socialised and so forth. But someone says, say if you live in Bondi and someone says, look, come over to Manly and have dinner, you're probably going to go, I don't think so. You know? I don't think so. I mean, it's got to be the best dinner I've ever had in my life. and maybe you want me to sleep over, because if I'm coming over there, I'm going to have a couple of glasses of wine, you know, I'm not going to drive home. So there's a whole different social concept. And then, of course, there's different suburbs. So there's suburbs, but everybody lives in Singapore. And it's not too far from each area, and you're a Singaporean. In Australia, we're all Australians, but if you live in the western suburbs of Sydney, an hour and a half out to a place called Penrith, 2 hours, sometimes you're never going to go to the eastern suburbs, or very rarely come into town. Are you kidding? Maybe to work, to go and socialise. Maybe to go to the opera. Whereas here, it doesn't matter. The people are all very nice in all communities. The general mass of society in Australia, very, very nice people, and very great personalities and driven and so forth. To compare that to Singaporeans, it's just a different type of person, a different culture.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, not as loud. You know, Australians can be loud and can laugh a lot more. You know, have a different humour, maybe.
Well, what's the difference?
More sarcasm.
More like a British kind of.
Yeah, very, very like British. No matter whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
You know, they laugh at the same stuff. I'm sure the Americans have a humour as well, but it's a little. That's a different. Yeah. And I think being an expat, you mix in all those nationality circles, if you put it that way, and business-wise. From here, you mix all your business from all over the world, really.
Yeah.
And so you become a more understanding of other individuals, their styles, their customs, their lifestyles that they think are attractive, and their language and use of English even is different. I think you probably become less aggressive, people think Australians are a bit aggressive in their tone and manner. So you probably tone that down. Even the simplest things of speaking to people. When I first came here, I didn't think I had an Australian accent, but I guess I did. And so I would go into a store, 7-Eleven, whatever store, I would have to say a few words. If I go into a store in Australia, I talk, oh, hi, how are you? Hey, mate, how you going? That sort of stuff. Whereas here, you say all that, just they look at you like you just, what planet are you from? Yeah. So then you just get down to, okay, how much? You don't try and be Mr. Charming in a store. It's not going to work.
Are you PR here?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever considered to become Singaporean after like 30?
Oh, it's been sort of proposed in a sense, but not really. I'm Australian. I'm very proud of that. And we're 6th generation Australians, and my wife as well. So no, we're very proud Australians, and proud Australians don't do that.
6th generation before your ancestors came from where?
UK. On my father's side, UK. From my mother's side, Finland and Denmark.
So, and you said you've been proposed to become.
Wrong word. People said, "Why don't you?"
Why don't you?
Yeah,
okay, this way. Because I know some people actually they get the offer from the government. Yeah.
No, I'm not that important. No, not at all. No, it's more just why not? Because some of our English and other European friends have become citizens, but from Australia, there's a lot to lose.
Have you ever felt like, I don't know, lacking of freedom here in Singapore? Like some people say, it's like...
Oh, really? I mean, I'm from Australia and we joke, it's a pretty law-structured society. I mean, you're lucky to be able to drive over the speed limit without getting, booked for $400. I mean, here they talk about it and they promote it as some disciplined society. It is. Yeah. And it's respectful of discipline and it's respectful of the different cultures of individuals and the different religions. Yeah. And they're all accepted, but the discipline comes up through the schooling. At schooling level, the students given direction and goals and encouraged to be disciplined people and to be religious. Yeah. And that's encouraged, not discouraged. I value that friends of our girlfriends and friends of ours can feel safe to walk around generally. I think that's an incredible asset. Whilst you can't value it and put it, it's an incredible asset for the community.
Sometimes people take it for granted. Even myself, I was like, oh yeah, it's safe, but you shouldn't forget that not all the places in the world are safe.
No, it's not. I mean, I joke, but in Australia, you wouldn't leave this furniture sitting out here.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
Overnight, during the night, you'd have to pack it all away, lock it down with, in some way, because someone's got a plan to take it somewhere else.
Do you have many friends who actually left Singapore at some point? Because you've been here for so long, and I guess a lot of foreigners, they come, they spend some time here, and then they go.
The people that we were friends with when our children, because you normally met them through school or work, but mostly school. Yeah. Real friends. They come and gone, and some come back. There's no question that in that 30, if I said 37 years, divide by 4, what's that mean? 8. So almost 8 different phases of friendships. But we do have, but equally, the people that were here, they then go all over the world. We have friends all over the world that we probably would never have had.
True, yeah.
And we visit and we communicate, and with social media and Facebook and whatever else going on, you're in touch with those people, and more so than probably ever would have been. They don't just leave here and then that's it. They certainly come back and visit. People love that. But interestingly, upon that question also, is that we have a network of long-term people. There are people that have, well, as you interview them, right? But our circle of friends, we probably have a core group of 10 or so, 10 or so couples of people. And they've been here, some have been born here. One good friend, no names, but one good friend, her father was Lee Kuan Yew's doctor, and she was born here, and that carries on from that. So they are all part of that community. They know each other through those circles, and they live their own life. But we have a comfortable circle of close, tight friends that have been here for longer than us. Yeah. And then we have new friends as well that come to town.
I guess you met a lot of high net worth individuals. What would you say the common traits and features and taste of ultra high net worth people?
Well, I think they have an expectation of the best and of the finest. They have expectation of service levels that only apply to mostly luxury hotels or in first class and business class travel. You know, if I'm talking travel, they have expectations, so they don't expect, I don't believe they would expect to come here and put their phone against some little, whatever they call those things, and order through there on their own pad. They would come to a lovely place and expect service and someone to come out and ask them what they like and to show personality and to show some sort of empathy and caring. And that unfortunately doesn't come naturally to a lot of people, the service element. So that's, if there's a common ingredient that these people expect, they don't want to pay, they're not arguing about paying.
Yeah.
They just want to make sure it's all done properly.
What would be your advice, like how to treat these people? If you're like, let's say, regular guy and you meet someone like super like high level, you probably be nervous, or like what's the way to
Well, I don't
communicate?
think you should be. I don't think you should be nervous. I'm sure that you'll find that they're quite quality people and they have an expectation that you're going to be a nice person. I mean, you know, communicate, be confident, respectful of their achievements, yeah, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to sit around groveling. Congratulations, it's great. And have a conversation. If you can't have a conversation with people, don't try, because it'll fail. And there's no pretense involved. I think if anything, they're sophisticated enough to know what works for them. Don't treat them like, I'm going to rip you off for X dollars because I know you're wealthy. Not going to work. They're smart and they have expectations of sort of normality, but don't treat me poorly or with disregard or jealousy or something. No one likes that.
Can I ask how old are you?
Very. No, 70.
How does it feel to be 70?
It's a bit funny. I try to use the buses and stuff here, you know, and I can't see a reason why not. So when I get on the bus, I guess it's the grey hair, right? And I've had grey hair very early, about 40 something. But I get on the bus and people stand up to let me sit down. And I think, oh, no. I don't think so. I'm not that old. But I guess I must look it. I just laugh. It's a bit unfortunate when you lose friends along the way. And that's quite shocking and like, why not? Well, that's not supposed to happen. But you know, realistically and pragmatically, you know, you're at the end of on the sharp end of life, and something's going to happen, and something comes along, and you're 70. So let's do the maths. You know, if you get to 80 something, then you're doing pretty well. But for me at the moment, that's 12 years away. I think no problem. I have a lot of memories and a lot of things that probably I should put down, and not for anyone's interest, but for my own perspective and for my grandchildren, something to do some thing.
What's the meaning of life for you?
Keep enjoying.
Keep enjoying.
Keep on enjoying what you're doing and how you're doing it, and understand also that not everything's perfect. So there's going to be some challenges. It's a good question. I have to go home and think about it. The meaning of life. It's you know, certainly you'd want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Let me show you some magic. If you click on this video, I will disappear and reappear again. Let's try it. 3, 2, 1.